Chris, you can't talk about these games. These games aren't the hype and the hotness anymore. What do they have in common, though? Well, they've got in common the fact that they've all put out freaking amazing expansions in 2025. Let's talk about essential expansions, ? Is there such a thing? Maybe. Let's explore. Let's start with Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth and the Allies expansion. Practically the perfect game. So can you improve upon perfection? Although I don't even dare say set this one upright because the insert sucks. But let's talk about this. As you can see in front of me, each side has 7 allies. Draw 3 at the beginning of the game and have them at your disposal. Each card has a lower left and a lower right hand effect. The enter effect and the exit effect. Pay 1 power token to enter, 2 to exit, and then they're out of the game forever. It addresses potentially the luck randomness of the card flipping when you have your pyramids set up and slowly giving you potentially what you may want, or ultimately the bigger criticism of what you may be left with as just a poor choice in general. Now with ways to mitigate the card pulls, the coin play, as well as the ever-bearing ring track across the board, either stalling it or extra starting it, gathering extra alliance tokens, or stopping them in their tracks, depending if you are the Fellowship or the bad guys. Is it necessary? If you are an aficionado, a hardcore aficionado of Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth, you can say absolutely yes. On the other hand, you can also argue that you're trying to improve on perfection, and so it's potentially unnecessary as well, because you were drawing only 3 of these at the beginning of the game, and not being able to, with the official rules, choose which ones are going to be the most beneficial depending on what strategy you want to play. It really doesn't aid things any way necessary in that sense. So although it is cool, and I love the freaking artwork, is it as thematic as you might prefer, especially with some of these characters? No, it's not. Is it a fun little layer that doesn't add a whole lot more complexity to the rules side of things? Yes. You add these power tokens as additional ways to activate, because you start with 1, but it gets on the card pyramid, so it does add some extra layer of which one you're choosing to potentially activate these later, but you can ultimately be left with one of these that is rather lackluster because of the random draw, and your opponent can be left in the opposite saddle, if you will, as well. So it may not be what you're looking for, although it adds an extra layer. Is it essential? Absolutely not. Will you like it if you love this game? Yes. But it may not be what you're looking for in the form of, well, a perfect expansion for a perfect base game. Plus, again, this thing doesn't even frickin' stick in here because of these oversized cards. Not to mention the promos that are available on Board Game Geek for the extra tiles here, which, again, just goes to show that you didn't really plan this one out. You're just kind of ad-libbing it, and it makes me just want to toss the insert in general because it'd probably take about half as much size in the box, which just speaks to the oversizing of box in general now in the hobby. Now, this may look very similar. Division M, Agent Avenue, expansion. What's new? It looks incredibly similar, Chris. 2 key differences, but it just expounds on the awesomeness of this game in the first place. This is going to add an even quicker ending if you thought this game dragged on as one of the main detriments. You now add the agents there. That, with the new Division M card, moves these guys 1 or 2 spaces. So if your Division M card ever catches your opponent's meeple exactly, you win. That's it. It just adds 1 whole card to this deck. And then the black market just gets a whole freaking ton of them. Yeah, there's a rule change or 2 in terms of it doesn't retroactively now activate with some of these cards. And the first time through, they recommend playing with just these ones. But if you're like me, you just say, screw it. You lump them all together and you have some craziness. That is the awesome of Agent Avenue. In case you're not just familiar with the basics of Agent Avenue, is you have a set of cards. You do the old, I choose that I know what you think I know that I think that you're going to do bluffing-wise. When you play 2 cards down and your opponent has to figure out whether they want the face-up one, depending on how many of them they already have, getting the action along the left side, or they want to take the mystery one on the right side. So can you bluff? Because get 3 of the wrong kind, you lose. Get 3 of the right kind, you win. Catch your opponent all the way around, you win. And that's the game, and I already told you what's new. So, is it absolutely fantastic? Yes. By far and away, the best expansion of all of these in this video, hands down. No questions asked. And I was not expecting that when I got all of these first to the table. And now we're talking about Leviathan Wilds, one of my top cooperative games from 2024. The Deepvale expansion! Well, and it's just kind of literally going deeper. We're not really getting anything new with this one, but we're getting just more of it, right? The Book of Leviathans, which has 7 more Leviathans in which you can traverse, which again gives you cool differences that you may be looking for on a Leviathan basis. If this was your vibe, this is your vibe. 2 new classes and climbers that you can mix and match here as well to give you a little bit more variety, because that's essentially all this expansion is more variety. More of the thing that you're already used to with Leviathan Wilds in the first place. It's not giving you anything that much drastically different. It's not going to change the gameplay. If you didn't like the base game, well, this is an easy, not going to change your mind whatsoever. But let's talk about the little bit of quality of life bonus that goes along with this. The double layered player boards for the track, the 3D versions of the acrylics, as well as tokens, and the first player marker. Are they necessary? No. You know me and the customizing on this channel and not being a big fan of deluxification. But occasionally we splurge. And occasionally some of these games, when they are your favorites, having just a little thing like this really is just a nice quality of life measure, if nothing else. And the fact that I can fit all of this in the base game box as well is a +1. Does it address your concerns of the scaling at the higher player counts versus the lower player counts? No, probably not. It's not going to change your opinion on this. If anything, these expansive new Leviathans here, as you can see, are going to exaggerate that even more potentially. But when that's your biggest criticism and you love the Shadows of Colossus vibe that the new characters are offering you and the new customizable nature of the addition of just a couple more of these in a cool way with a chromatic torch and Beyond the Limits and the Harvester giving you everything else that you want in that way, it works. I'll take it. A little bit of more is sometimes just what the doctor has ordered. And in case you're forgetting about Star Wars the deck building game, FFG is trying to remind us that somehow this game still has life compared to Star Wars Unlimited, its older, bigger brother who's tougher, smarter, more balanced. But now we're getting the Mandalorian expansion pack, which, you know, truth be told, I thought this game was DOA after it was released, because I love it, and it's a pseudo deck build, completely chaotic, well, draft from the center, the neutral cards, as you also try and buy your own cards to get your deck to knock out the other team's base. And so this game, although it doesn't give me exactly what I wanted, it's an interesting twist on things because it also offers, as you can see here, a third player faction in the name of the Mandalorian. Well, the tricky part, though, is although we already have the Separatists and the New Republic from the previous expansion that's completely standalone, this one has to be integrated. But the difference here is although you're getting this extra expansion and you're getting the all-important more neutral cards, which this game desperately needs with the base game, you're actually getting a 3-player mode where it takes a role on the old Spider-Man meme where each of them is pointing at each other, and you're doing the same thing here, having decks of cards specially neutral in between A, B, B, C, and CA to potentially make this game into a degenerate, chaos-filled killing spree as you try to be the last one standing, but also giving you an extra force track to deal with along the way, extra starters, as you can see here, that go along and complete the deck, and to just bring a little bit of a better player count instead of this weird, crappy team versus team situation that inevitably some of these head-to-head duelers try to make space for. So I actually prefer the 3-player count here rather than the 2-player team-up kind of, well, handhold situations that these games end up in otherwise. So is it essential? Absolutely not. Does it give me the neutral cards that I wanted? Yes. Do I really want another faction? No, I'd rather have expanded factions in the first place. So it's an interesting twist, but again, not essential by any means. Faraway, so people from below expansion, and I never want to play this with 7 people, but it gives you 2 new ways to earn fame in this reverse tableau builder. So of all of these, this one might be the most worth your money incorporating it in the base game. But you know what? Don't buy all of these. Just get the one that you absolutely need, which also is potentially none of them. Thanks for watching. Stay classy. Peace out.